Hello, welcome to another episode of the Dre and Smiley The Inner Circle podcast, where normal people living extraordinary lives share their experiences with you.
All right, so I'm excited to share a brief bio about our current guest. Jonathan Carmel is the founder of Affluent Analytics, a company designed for affiliate marketers. At one point, Affluent Analytics had more than $4 billion in revenues and has been used by some of the biggest affiliate marketing companies in the world to save time with automated reports, grow their companies with algorithmic performance alerts, and integrate standardized transactional API into their internal tools. Being a serial entrepreneur and investor, Jonathan has since sold Affluent Analytics while remaining the head of biz development and has started a new company called Huddle, which is based around sports league management. So I got to say, I'm eager to get into the head of a serial entrepreneur. With that, Jonathan, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me. I have one tiny amendment. We did not have $4 billion in revenue. Otherwise, I would be on an island in the Caribbean or something. we tracked $4 billion in revenue. So we were very successful, but we tracked it. So there's just
good distinction. Good distinction there. Okay.
Because we were tracking some pretty cool companies like Airbnb and Uber and stuff like that. So we were tracking some really cool companies, but we did not have that money hitting our bank account.
Okay, a big difference there. Okay, thanks for that distinction. So tell me this, Jonathan. So in terms of getting to the head of a serial entrepreneur, and then I want to talk about what affiliate marketing is, and then more currently what Huddle is, and that sort of thing. Take me back into, how you got into deciding to be a serial entrepreneur. Oftentimes, generally speaking, when we're young, our parents say, do well in school, go, so you can get to a good college, so that you can graduate and get a job in corporate America. Although with the younger generation, that's less and less. Talk about your path into becoming a serial entrepreneur and what drove that.
So it might not be the most interesting of answers, but I think I was kind of born into it. So my father's an immigrant from Israel and moved to the U.S. I think in the mid 80s. And he came here with nothing, and he started a bunch of different businesses since he moved out here. So he started off in real estate. I mean, he first worked as a valet, which I find hilarious. And then he started in real estate, video duplication. I don't know if any of you guys remember Blockbuster, but he would basically supply Blockbuster with like all the cassettes that you would rent. Somebody had to actually like duplicate the original videos. He's most famous for a company called Spark Networks. They did Christian Mingle and J-Date. And now he's in another advertising business, which is doing very, very well as well. It's called AnyView. I kind of just followed in his footsteps. I didn't really intentionally go down that path, but I mean, I love the hustle. So I mean, like the first, I would say we can call it a business, I guess, was in college. I went to University of Southern California, and I was actually a video game major in the cinema department. And as our last group project, we started a video game called, I believe it was called Finger Dance. So it's like a dancing iPad game that you would play with your fingers. And we ended up selling that for like 50, 100K among 10 of us, which is, it's not much when you split that pie, but like, it was a school project. So we were like, wow. So, and from there, just kind of moved into marketing. Actually, my dad asked me to move out to Israel to help him with one of his companies that was not doing well. And it was never going to do well, quite frankly, but he asked me to come manage it. And it was probably the best education I've gotten. Absolutely failed. And that's honestly some of the best knowledge and experience you can get is when things are going good, things are easy. When things are going bad, I mean, you're just struggling to learn, to fix, to hustle, to figure things out as quickly as you can. And after about a year or two, it just wasn't going anywhere. So I ended up getting a job in marketing, working for a horrible company. I'm not going to name.
Let's not name them.
I'm not going to name the company. I don't even think. I think they merged with another company. They have a different name now, anyways. But basically, if you ever remember going to websites and seeing like the advertisements on websites with like big smiley,
Yes.
like, you're the millionth visitor.
Yes.
Click here.
Yes.
So we did some of that stuff, which somehow was legal. I don't know how, but did a bunch of that. The cool thing is I met some really interesting people in the space, in the internet advertising space, and it got me down the trajectory of wanting to be in internet and tech and marketing and advertising, that kind of stuff. And so things just snowballed into where I am today from there.
Awesome. Yeah, it's interesting. I always like to hear entrepreneurs talk about the early days. We had someone on a few episodes back, Steve Sarowitz, who has created and sold a number of companies. He's made billions. He's really successful. And what people don't often realize is that before you achieve that success, like you, he had some failures early on, shortly after college, which is great if you can have them early, right? Because it gives you, more opportunity to kind of grow and expand. So I'm glad you shared that, your trajectory wasn't just, I hit the ground running, I had nothing but success, and here I am today. So I appreciate you sharing that. So talk about, some of the biggest challenges with being a serial entrepreneur. What do you face every day in terms of, obstacles, things like that?
Yeah. So there's, your future is just never clear. It's not like working and you're not just getting a salary, right? Like you don't at the end of the month feel super comfortable with where you're at. You're like, oh, if this job lets me go, I can go find another job, which also obviously nowadays, especially with the economy is where it is, it's not quite the same. But it's just a constant fear. It's your best friend when you're building businesses. It's your worst enemy at the same time, because the fear not only scares you constantly, but it also is a driving factor. It moves you to push faster, to raise money earlier, to do whatever it is that you need to do on a shorter timeline, because you're constantly scared. Like any day could be a disaster. Like especially now, the recession hitting. For whatever reason, it's been a very weird recession, but normally with recessions, it destroys tons of companies. They lose tons of their clients and stuff like that. And that can happen at any point. And that is by far the scariest part of being an entrepreneur. Your livelihood, the livelihood of the people you work with. I mean, a lot of people depend on you. And that's just, it can be daunting.
One thing you mentioned is affiliate marketing. Just for our listeners, can you define affiliate marketing? Because we see it all over YouTube and they say, oh, come to my website and do this and buy this product. Is your company, does it facilitate that? Or how is it your affiliate marketing from what you started and produced compared to what people advertise on YouTube? Or is it the same?
Cool. Yeah, it's interesting. Affiliate marketing is the internet's best kept secret when it comes to monetization of human eyes. So basically everyone knows like banners, they know video ads, they know all sorts of other things. So what people the general population doesn't know is that a lot of the articles you read will talk about a specific product. So for example, maybe you'll type something in top 10 best toothbrushes. And you'll go to a person's blog and you'll click on the first link. That link, they actually get a kickback for that. They get some sort of percentage. So don't always trust what you read on the internet. In fact, be very, very careful. So Amazon is probably the biggest affiliate payer in the world. So anytime a lot of companies, when they promote Amazon products, any link that leads to Amazon, they will get paid for. I think the easiest analogy is just Instagram. A lot of whatever social, but most people generally use some form of social where their influencer will be like, hey, just went to Macy's and bought this brand new Ralph Lauren polo or something, and they get money for that advertisement. That's an obvious form of advertisement, but that generally is affiliate marketing. Or actually, another one is a lot of podcasts will be like, we'll have an advertisement and say, and visit my link, Amazon.com/ or use my coupon code, hashtag Dre Smiley. And that's also an affiliate link. So there's a lot of different ways that affiliate marketing manifests. And so, yeah, that's essentially what the industry is.
So is your company, from that perspective of Instagram and a hashtag or a link, are you harvesting the data analytics and giving it to Amazon, or what is it that your company did or does compared to what you just described?
Cool. So Amazon is actually, they're so big, they just don't really care about anybody else. So they're kind of a closed ecosystem. They're a walled off ecosystem. So it's really difficult to pull data from them. Also, because they're so big, they don't give very much data to their users. So they're not the best example. So what we do is we aggregate data from many different places. So the best way of describing this is we can do this in multiple tiers. So one, let's say we own a small blog. Let's say I own a small blog. It's called Jonathan's Blog. I have a couple thousand visitors per day, and I want to monetize it. One of the easiest way of monetizing it is through affiliate marketing, because I can go to these places called affiliate networks, decide who I want to promote. So I can make an account with the platform and be like, oh, I see Coca-Cola. I want to promote Coca-Cola. I love, I don't know, World Wildlife Fund because I want to promote some charities. And then I can choose a bunch of those, and then I can start putting links of those on my site. And that platform tracks, that affiliate network tracks all of the clicks, and they pay me out accordingly. Now, there are a ton of those different affiliate networks. Sorry, I'm getting a little. If I'm getting too technical,
no,
this is great.
You're good. We're tracking. We're tracking.
Cool.
We're tracking.
Cool. So the way of thinking about them is they're just basically stores for me to choose things I want to promote. And so those affiliate networks, I will probably, as a blog, work with a ton of those. I might work with 10, 15, 20 different networks because all the different things I want to promote are in different places. So at the end of the day, and this was a problem for us, I'll go into that in a minute. At the end of the day, my blog, I'll have to find out how much money I made this month, let alone today or in the last few hours. I would have to log in to 20 different platforms. I made $100 from platform A, I made $2,000 from platform B, and then I would add all of those things into a Microsoft and Excel spreadsheet. And it takes so much time. Nothing's automated there. And that's just to find the revenue, not even to get any kind of important business intelligence, like what are the trends on a daily basis, how many clicks, what is my conversion rate. There are so many KPIs that are really important for these companies that are just kind of locked behind different platforms. So what we did is we came in and we connected all of those platforms into one business intelligence place, one dashboard where you can see on an hourly basis how much money you've made, how many people are coming in. Also, another thing is if one of the links breaks. So for example, if an advertiser cancels their old promotion, their old campaign, and starts a new one, they wouldn't tell you. It just breaks. And so maybe you have it on your most top performing page, and all 90% of your money for the day is gone, and you never know. You don't know it until the end of the month because nobody tells you that. So essentially, we give you business intelligence on your primary revenue channels. And so this company was born because we had a bunch of blogs and websites. This was the first, I would say, real successful business that we had. We had maybe 5 or 6 different websites. And this is why I say be careful about the top 10 sites, is because we had a lot of them. Ours were good. We had good information, but we knew our competitors were doing shady things. But so we had a sleep website. So what are the top 10, how to sleep better, top 10 best mattresses, top 10 best pillows, blah, blah, blah. So we had a bunch of those websites, and each of those websites were promoting a bunch of different platforms. And at the end of the month, I was spending 2 to 3 days doing our financials, which is ludicrous. That should not happen. And we couldn't find a platform out there that would solve the issue that we had. And so we just built it for ourselves. And then at some point we showed it to people in the industry, and they're like, how do we get a hold of this? And then we're like, oh,
how much money do you have?
Yeah, exactly. For those trying to...
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Well, I was going to say what you go.
No, please.
What you said is it was out of the necessity, because it sounds similar to the Shopify guys I read something where they wanted to be skiers. They met in college and they were trying to ski, and they wanted to have a store online to sell ski equipment. And they came up with this cool Shopify platform. And when they went to the investors like, lose the ski idea. That what you created is better than that. And they're like, no, we're skiers. And then all of a sudden, the investors convinced them to market Shopify, which is now a $1 zillion business. But these guys started out because what they created, because they said all the sites they would go to were so challenging to use, and they were technical people who like to ski. They just wrote their own platform. So that's awesome.
No, I love that too, because like one of the things I think is really important for entrepreneurs is there's a famous it's not really a quote, but there's a famous adage like everyone believes that 9 out of 10 businesses fail, so everyone's like be careful about starting a business. I don't necessarily agree to that. I think that 9 out of 10 businesses fail not because those ideas are unsound or anything. I think 9 out of 10 businesses fail because I think 8 out of 10 of those people can't handle the difficulty that comes with having a business. Like you said with Shopify, like they were going down one path and then they stuck with it and they pivoted into a different realm. And it's really difficult to make those kinds of decisions and to stick them out and to continue to do that. I mean, Airbnb, I forgot what Airbnb started as, but something weirdly political, I think, or a cereal company. Oh no, they're using cereal to market. But
Yeah, that's right.
anyways,
that's right.
There's a lot of companies that were going in completely different directions. And so, sticking it out it's a very difficult thing to do.
Yeah. What's interesting, at least from my perspective, that's not unique to starting a business, right? So even if you got a job, let's say in corporate America, it's going to be challenging at times. And I think at the end of the day, if you have to figure out, do I want to persevere through this? Starting your own business, I think there's a huge reward, though, if you have the ability to persevere through the obstacles and challenges that come along. One question I had about the hub that you guys created. Before you created the hub, the reason it was created was because you were saying that you had to go to different platforms to collect information, data, which is just time consuming. So you had websites that were revenue generating. These websites offered content and the affiliate links to these different Coca-Cola and whatnot. The content that was on the site, where did that come from? For example, how to sleep better, which car to buy. I'm sure it was just kind of all, yeah. So where did that content come from?
So, I mean, that's a wonderful question. So we had because that's the core of our business, right? The core of our business is how to generate that content. And I think you guys will probably understand the difficulties that come with managing the content, creating the content, being inspired by it. And,
right.
So I was basically the editor in chief, I guess you can call it. And so there's a big point I'll make here too. If you're starting a business, I guess in technology especially, I can't speak for all businesses, I guess, but hiring abroad is a wonderful thing. It is unbelievable the amazing talent you can find overseas at we were getting at maybe 10% price. Like we were hiring full-time writers in the Philippines for $400 a month, which sounds ludicrous. The average salary in the Philippines, I think, was like $100, $150. Right? We were paying good salaries and getting really quality people. But basically, I would come up with, for people who are familiar with SEO, I would basically do some keyword research on specific topics. So I would look at basically what the most searched sleep keywords are. And I kind of create a plan around those keywords about what kind of articles I thought might be interesting. And so I would basically come up with the headline and maybe the top 3 speaking points of the article, and then I would hand it over to a writing team in the Philippines, and they would write the articles. And I mean, most of the time I didn't have to do almost any editing. The writing was fantastic, but sometimes, but I would look through their articles and then publish them. But most of it was coming from, I would say, a combination of keyword research. Probably Google Trends was helpful too, to see what's trending, and trying to find something that's actually I would find interesting. That's kind of how we managed most of our content.
Makes sense. And so did that content then go onto a blog page that you had? Because I'm thinking, one thing that we have, with this podcast is, it's a pretty broad theme, right? And so we're able to have a lot of really different and really interesting guests. So if you have content, written content, and the goal is to attract eyes, clicks.
Mhm.
My guess is you have to kind of take the same approach. Otherwise, you're missing out on potential views. So was there like a blog page that was anything you might find interesting, or was it like, so how did you like scale
So
that down? Does that make sense?
So yeah, totally. So me and my business partner, actually my business partner, he's been my business partner on a bunch of different things. His name's Jan. We both came from an SEO world.
And Jonathan, just for our listeners, SEO,
Yeah.
search engine optimization. Just in
Yeah.
case people are wondering, what does that mean?
So I'll give you the simple. It's actually really, it's not that complex, but the idea is search. So when you search engine optimization is when you search, from the business perspective, from the perspective of my blog, I want to be ranked as high as possible in that search. So if somebody does a search for my company Affluent, I want Affluent to be the first thing that comes up. If it comes up second, it's very bad, because if somebody's searching for my company, how is it possible that somebody can overtake me? And typically, I can't remember the numbers, it's been a little while, but like something like 85% of traffic goes to the number one.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say 100% of traffic goes to the top page. So you're really trying to make it to the first 10 results. If you can't make it to the first 10 results, you're basically a nobody. And so search engine optimization is trying to get you as high up the rankings as possible without paying Google for the ads, because that's a whole different thing. I prefer free clicks than paying for clicks.
Sure, who doesn't?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And so that whole process has many different facets. It has to deal with the hierarchical structure of your content. It has to deal with the technical speed, a lot of technicality of how your website is run. There's many different thoughts too, and Google only releases a little bit of information. I don't know if I can give a percent, maybe 40 to 50% of what their formula kind of is. So it's a lot of guesswork, and it's a lot of like reverse engineering and stuff like that. So there are some things which are 100% known, and there are some things which are we're still kind of figuring out, and Google will never tell. That's their formula anyways. And so when we create the structure of our website and the structure of our articles, we're basing it all around keyword research. So one of the easiest ways to just do things correctly with SEO is just having really simple, powerful hierarchies. So which is really helpful for making content anyways. I actually thought it was kind of worked hand in hand, which is why Google is such a wonderful company, why their search engine has been the best. They've done a great job in disseminating information and making it easy for you to find what it is that you're looking for. And so they want you to do the same thing on your websites. So if my website is, let's find an easy one here. What has a good hierarchy? Let's just call it organization.com. Organization.com is the top level of the hierarchy. And from there, you break it down into like organization.com/marketing/sales/HR/ whatever. So that's a very simple hierarchy for a website. And then you would put all of your marketing content into the marketing area. You put all your sales stuff into the sales area. And so like all websites should have that kind of structure. And so for us, I'll give you an example of the one that was most successful for us. We did a lottery website. God, I love that website. It was so much fun. We learned so many really strange stories, which we really loved. So we would do like lottery.com/Mega Millions, lottery.com/Powerball, and each of those we would have articles related to those specific lotteries. And that's kind of how we broke down the website, because then Google has a really easy time of understanding this information is for this. It's very easiest for us to rank you for Powerball then, because we know exactly your lottery website, and we know this page is about Powerball, so it's going to put the Powerball page into a Powerball search. So that's kind of how we broke down the website, and we kept going down and down and down and down. So we'd also be like, so it'd be like lottery.com/Powerball/biggest winners/Joe Francis $500 million Powerball winner, and you can keep going down that hierarchy, and that's how you kind of structure your websites. Yeah.
So there's no limit. I mean, if you structure the website well, there's no limit in terms of how far down you can drill. I love that. And last question before I send it back over to Smiley. So what's the frequency? Because, with social media, my very limited understanding is that the more frequent the posts, the better, in terms of gaining more viewers and eyes, that sort of thing. So what type, and does that apply for these pages? And as it relates to affiliate marketing, and what was the cadence, the frequency that you guys came up with in terms of how often you had to put content out there to remain relevant and ensure you had eyes and clicks?
Yeah, no, it's a really good question. Actually, so we don't. Google never really tells you what that answer is, and we were basing everything again around SEO. So we were trying to post probably 2 to 3 times a week, two to three different articles a week, with the team. Basically, wanted each writer to put out 1 article per week. That was the kind of goal. That was the kind of cadence that we had. We had to do rewrites as well, which was important. Rehashing old content is something important for every content maker. I'm not sure if that works that well for podcasts, but maybe it does. I'm not sure. But for
is it like almost the equivalent of doing a TV show rerun? Is that the idea? Kind of.
Yeah. So that would work for, I think, for like more visual content. So for like videos and for images and stuff like that. For written, it's just a case of rewriting, going over, making sure the content is up to date. It's not like you're republishing it. You're just going back and editing it. Yeah, exactly. Gotcha. Making sure everything's up to date. Google loves that stuff. But yeah, I think generally more is better. I'm going to be honest, as long as it's quality, of course.
Well, here's one for you, because I'm so glad you explained the SEO and the hierarchical structure. But as a couple weeks ago, the world's on fire about ChatGPT, OpenAI. Is that destroying the content makers? When you talked about the team in the Philippines, I'm thinking their horizon is like, it's like they have the horse and buggy, and now Ford's coming down with the automobile. It's like there's something on the horizon, and this ChatGPT is targeting. It's like nuclear against the creators and writers.
Are the writers over in the Philippines over there like nervous with sweaty palms, like our jobs are about to be taken?
If I'm going to be completely honest, they're probably super happy, honestly, because they can just use ChatGPT to do their job for them if they're smart.
That's true.
Right?
That's true.
But you're absolutely right. Yeah, no, the content generation of ChatGPT. Oh my God. So I was writing a business plan a couple of weeks ago for Huddle, and I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to send this to ChatGPT, see if it can write like a little prompt. Like, I can't remember what the prompt was. It was like, please write a business summary for a sports league management platform. And it crushed it. I was like blown away. I was like, wow, I guess. So don't tell anyone, I guess, but I'm writing a lot of the business plan using ChatGPT, because for me, the hardest is like kind of starting these sentences, starting these paragraphs, and it just writes it. And then I just go in, I edit it all, but it makes it, instead of spending 4 or 5 hours, it's cut it down probably by like 70-80%, and the content is just as good as it would have been, if not even better than before. So there are some really interesting applications to ChatGPT and all this AI stuff. I will say it is a bubble right now. It is an intellectual and financial bubble. It is not as far as we think it is. Well, I guess I can't speak for everyone. It's really far, but it's not as far as what's kind of been blowing up in the media. So the 3 main AIs that I've played with are ChatGPT, Midjourney, and DALL-E 2. DALL-E 2 and Midjourney are the image AI, so they make images based on whatever your prompt is, and ChatGPT is the text-based one. If anyone wants to have a wonderfully fun Saturday, like, definitely check out Midjourney. I think there's a Discord for it or something. I'm not really sure. It is so much. Me and my friend sat there for like 2-3 hours drinking beers, just like creating all these random prompts, and it's just so much fun. But anyways, so those I think are actually really, really fascinating. As far as ChatGPT goes, though, and how it relates to content, they are tools. So it still requires human creativity, human intelligence for those to function properly. On top of that, yeah. So for content generation, yeah, I think they're really cool right now in that sense, because they're really good at pulling out. How do I split this actually? So in terms of content generation, they're great, but in terms of research, they're not. Be very, very careful with it, because like there was their big like coming out parade where Microsoft got, I don't know, they decided to invest another $10 billion or something like that into the company. It was very cool, but that I think they showed recently that presentation had like 60% of the information was just blatantly wrong. Like the revenue details, a lot of the numbers that it was pulling were just, nobody could figure out even where those numbers came from. So like, definitely be careful there. We're going down a really, really interesting trajectory, and I am very long on it. I'm very happy that all the stuff is coming out, because like you said, you're absolutely right. Back in the day when we were writing stuff, we were looking for this kind of stuff. I remember using like 2 or 3 of these kinds of like old school AI content generated platforms. They were so bad. I mean, they were barely English sentences. And now that I can have a conversation, it can write a business plan for me. It's really, really cool. And I know that everyone thinks the world is going to burn, but it's just happened to humanity so many times. We've come up with so many interesting technologies that, yes, it flips the world around, but we find a way to elevate the utility of the human mind and less the utility of the human hand. And I think there's just so much we can do if we can automate a lot of the stuff that's just busy work, right?
I think it's similar to you. A friend, it was a couple weekends ago on a Sunday. I received a TikTok from a friend and it had the ChatGPT, and I went there. 7 hours later, I was in there so long, I was just sucked in, and I just lost the whole Sunday because I was in there doing all this crazy stuff. But the question I have for you is two. One is I want you to talk about your other business that Andre mentioned, the huddle that you mentioned. But the thing is, when you mentioned Midjourney, I wrote that down because I was on a site. It was an AI. You say Smiley with Jerry curl in a red suit, and it draws a picture. And I haven't seen Midjourney yet, but the one question is, let's go back a couple of years ago when Elon Musk was just like afraid of whatever he saw in AI. And I'm thinking they're coming out with image AI, chat AI, content. How many different AIs are there? And what is the AI that scared Elon? Because it seemed like that hasn't gotten out to us yet. But remember he was in the news and he kept saying, man, this is going to kill humanity. It's so much faster than us. It's smarter than us. Where is that?
Well, so the most ironic part about this, what a great point. The most ironic part is that OpenAI was funded by Elon Musk. I think he put in $100 million into OpenAI when it was a nonprofit to combat AI against Google. So like, it's just so ironic that this company now that's like blowing up. Now it's a for-profit company, of course. Was funded because of those concerns from Elon Musk back in the day, and now it's just like it is the AI apocalypse from this one company. Yeah, I guess there are concerns there. I don't know. I generally tend to. This is just me being an optimist, a technologist optimist. Is that I just don't think that's going to be a reality. There's a chance. There's a chance that who knows. I mean, there's a very, 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 very small chance. But I'm not really concerned about AI taking over the world. And it's a good thing that we have OpenAI. Google has their AI Bard. I'm sure everyone and their mother is building AIs now because of this whole bubble that's going on, which is good because the more that AI comes out, the safer we will be, not just as like a human race, but the safer we'll be as consumers, because the more the AI is out there, the less there will be sharing of like a lot of the personal data. Maybe that's actually not true. I don't know. But the more that AI is out there, the safer I think it'll be. To have different branches of this really cool technology will just prove fruitful for everyone.
Makes sense. So tell me this, Jonathan, being a serial entrepreneur with AI here, surrounding us, have you thought about business opportunities around AI? And you don't have to share them. You don't have to share them.
No, I'm always
But
open to share.
Have you thought about business? What sort of business opportunities exist leveraging AI, and just generally speaking?
I've started to think about more and more things the last couple of weeks as it started to blow up. I think there is going to be a huge opportunity. I mean, the way mobile phones, the iPhone came, like, completely changed the technology ecosystem, the way the internet's changed things. We're moving towards a direction where a technology will come out that will change the way so many things are done. So many. So getting ahead of the game there and starting to think about that, I think is really relevant, especially for entrepreneurs. Again, we're not there yet. I think it's too early. I think we're not even in the beta phase. We're like in the pre-alpha maybe right now. But I think in the next 5 years, people are telling me I'm crazy, that I'm too slow. Maybe that's just because I'm getting older. I don't know. I think it's about 10 years before we'll start to really see it permeate society in a way that's accessible for all entrepreneurs. I think for the next 4 to 5 years, it's just going to be in the hands of the big boys, the Googles, the Amazons, the Microsofts, for the most part, as far as those kinds of AIs go and how they can relate to a small entrepreneur. But I mean, yeah. So actually, we're investing in a company who's doing, I don't know how much I'm allowed to say, so I'm just going to say they work in spam. So they basically AI removal of spam.
Okay.
And that's a really great way of AI working. I mean, for example, like, I don't know how it would work for phone calls. I don't know about you guys. I'm getting so many spam calls and spam text messages these days. I don't know where it's even coming from. It's just getting worse and worse. But I think AI can have a really powerful effect on even something as simple as that. Maybe that's actually a great idea. Maybe I shouldn't have said that idea.
It's too late. I just wrote it down.
I'll code it tonight, Andre.
Yeah. I'll make it happen.
But there's a lot of good ways. I mean, like, all the super apps are coming out, and I think one cool way AI can help is just making our lives just easier, right? How it can help us with our finances. For example, I think a cool one would be, I have no clue how many things I'm subscribed to right now. And I know there are apps right now that can deal with that. But I would love an AI to be like, yeah, actually, I'm not sure in what context that would work, to be quite frank. But to have the super app AI, I think, is just really cool. They can touch into your financials, they can touch into your work, into your paychecks, into all that stuff, and just give you, like, interesting. Oh, actually, you know what? Health would be really interesting.
Yeah.
I think health would be a really cool one. Because, like, we're all trying to do our best to be healthy. God knows we love our Taco Bell, but it would be really cool to have AI telling. I have this ring on. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's called Aura. Really plugging companies left and right here. It's a really, really cool company, and it just does, like, health biometrics. And the app has really cool data points, but I wish it was just pushing that data at me a little harder, like telling me, yeah, your heart rate was a little too high yesterday. Did you have a drink or two? That's affected your sleep. Your sleep is 10% shorter than it normally should be. It'd be cool if it pushed stuff like that. And I think an AI actually would be wonderful for extrapolating a lot of that information.
Sure. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about affluent analytics. So in my mind, the goal of most entrepreneurs is to build a company that's so profitable that it appeals to another person who wants to buy it, right? Mm-hmm. You clearly achieved that. What was it like once you realized that, wow, I've been a part of building this, this product that we're about to sell? What was that like? Forget about how much it sold for. I just want to know the feeling you had of, and how you would describe it. Would you describe it as success? Would you describe it as, all right, on to the next one? How would you describe it, and what was that like?
Wow, it was a wonderful feeling. God, I can't, bringing me back a little bit. I love that. Yeah, it was. It kind of came out of nowhere, if I'm going to be honest. Like, it wasn't like we were shopping for buyers. We were trying to sell the company. We were just grinding super hard. We had a really strong year. And then the company just approached us. They're like, I think it's time for us to have a talk. And we're like, what does that mean? I think I know what that means, but what does that mean? And me and my partner were like, yeah, okay, let's do this. And then it kind of happened just really fast. Fast relatively, I guess. Like 3 to 6 months, we were starting to talk about terms and kind of closing out the terms. There was a lot of fighting, a lot of arguing, a lot of like, I'm about to walk away situations. But luckily, we're all of the founders of Affluent. We're family. We love each other. No matter what, if we fight, we'll find a way through it, which is really, really powerful. And it's really important also. If you ever decide to have a co-founder, you are essentially choosing somebody you're marrying. In fact, I think it's more important to choose a better co-founder than it is to choose a significant other, because you are just attached to them. They really control a lot of you, and you control a lot of them, and it's really, really, really important for inspiring you, for inspiring the company and the employees and everything. So, anyways, I digressed. It was a really, really wonderful feeling. It's a really difficult time though, because you're having to continue to grow the business because you're not sure if it's going to work, if it's going to go through. Letter of intent doesn't mean really much in court, honestly. So, actually, I'm not a lawyer. Don't take that. And so we had to be really careful that we weren't dedicating too much time to the acquisition, towards getting all the documentation and finding all the numbers, and not actually managing and running our business to continue to grow. Because if it didn't work out, we wanted to make sure that we were still in the black and still doing well. And I don't remember the prior questions, but I hope that answered them.
Yeah.
No, the one thing I read a serial entrepreneur, a person who starts companies and sells them. He said it was similar to, you have your kids and you send them off to college, and it's like you want them to kick them out the nest so they can grow. But when you see your baby that you started from concept and now it's part of another bigger company, and you're just like, okay, let them sprout their wings and fly. So it was like a proud father moment. Do you feel like that with some of your companies, that you're not the CEO, You're not setting the strategy, but you're like, that's what I started, and you're just like a proud father or big brother or something to your companies because they're flourishing without you. But once again, that was yours. Is it similar like that?
Really 100%. It's really amazing. So first of all, by the way, I'm not a part of. I need to change my LinkedIn probably. I'm not a part of Affluent or Impact anymore.
Oh, okay.
Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to start this company. So.
Okay.
But yeah, so it's really interesting. So I think I've been really fortunate in a lot of different ways. Each company I've started, I think this is maybe the third or fourth one, has kind of rolled into the next. So it's almost like, it's not even like each individual company is a baby. It's almost like each company has been an evolving part of myself, an evolving part of my my journey through life, and it's been really cool to see each one grow and put it out into the world. So letting go of Affluent was really difficult for us because going into selling a company, they will almost always tell you that it's going to be the same, just with more resources. Your company is going to stay exactly the way it is. We just want you to grow faster with resources. And a lot of times it's not. And for us, it had to evolve once we joined the company in many different ways. Our roles and our positions had to evolve. And yes, you do have more resources, and the people you work with are now like significant. I mean, yeah, if they're acquiring you, they're going to be significantly larger in that ecosystem. The company who acquired us, they're the biggest in the space. So it was really cool to go from like on our own tiny children to like a part of this just really amazing company, and to see how that operates. To go from startup to corporate is it's wild. It's just really, really crazy to see that. And to get to be a part of two ends of that spectrum was like almost instantaneous. An instantaneous flip is very interesting, very, very enjoyable, because I never really worked in a big corporate company. So being a part of that was nice. And all of the C-suite were really helpful. All of the people at the company acquired us, Impact, were just wonderful. I think a lot of them will be friends for life. I hope so anyways. And maybe
That's great.
investors.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. That's great. As you shared that story, Jonathan, there's a car. He's more than a reviewer, but his name is Doug DeMuro, and he does car reviews on YouTube. And he's been doing this before that. He was a writer. Then he started doing YouTube, and then he opened up at the start of COVID. He opened up a. It's called Cars and Bids. It's a they sell cars online.
Okay.
And he's like you, was grinding it out, just trying to build it and grow it and that sort of thing. Recently, a VC came in and gave him a huge pot of money to take over majority ownership of the company. And it's interesting. I'm curious to see how this evolves, because and as they interviewed him, he was saying, I'm still going to be a part of this. I'm going to have a smaller role, that sort of thing. But usually when you're a startup, it's kind of a small nucleus, kind of a small family. And you guys, you have your voice that everyone's accustomed to seeing and hearing. But usually when a larger company comes in, they want to grow it even larger. And that picture, that voice tends to change. So I'm curious to see what's going to happen with him. He came to mind as you were sharing your story.
Yeah.
One quick question, and we'll go on to the actually two quick questions, and we'll go on to the final four. So one, Huddle. So tell me about the transition to Huddle, and what is Huddle?
So something it's been like a brainchild of mine for about a decade now. Like I think I thought of it even before I built Affluent. It's just very simple. There are tons of like recreational sports leagues out there. All over the country, and basically in every city there's going to be a basketball league or a soccer league or something like that. And the technologies that are powering those leagues are antiquated. The designs are horrible. The functionality is bad. There's a few that are okay, but I think their business models are not correct. And they kind of, those platforms that the leagues are built on are operating in the back. Yeah, you know what? We'll just go with the whole. I'm a little concerned about speaking about it too much because it's at such an early stage, but I think that's fine.
Okay.
But the idea behind it is we want to build a social community around sports leagues. Like the fact that that doesn't exist right now, that's so difficult to find a league. You can only do it really by Googling, that there isn't like a de facto champion of sports leagues, that it just doesn't make sense. Sports leagues are a huge thing for especially Americans. I mean, almost everyone plays some sport, maybe not almost everyone, but a lot of people play sports in high school and in college. And then what happens afterwards? Like there's just no easy way to be a part of those communities. I think there's just some disconnect there that should be bridged. And I want to be the person who bridges those. I want to build a community that allows teams and leagues and people to just very easily play sports in their communities. And I want to do it in a way that's free for the league. So from a business perspective, the leagues will be saving money. They're also going to have better tools. From people's perspective, just from the entire ecosystem, I think there's just some really cool functionality that we can develop that will really revolutionize the way people play sports. And I think that in the future, we can also dive into pickup games and help people to like set up their own, just like local sports, no money involved or anything like that. And I think that by creating a company like that, we will, there's like a feel good moment to that as well. If I can convince, I think that with a better platform, more people will play sports, and more people are playing sports, the more people are participating in their community, more people are being more physically active, they're being more healthy. Like there's a lot of like secondary benefits to having a company like that, which is becoming more and more meaningful to me as I continue my career. Rather than just like the marketing company was a wonderful company, but like let's be real, it's not really doing any good for the world. It's just allocating resources in a more effective way. Whereas Huddle, I think, can really do some meaningfully powerful things for communities and for people.
Nice. All right. So, what's one thing that people don't know about you that you wish they knew?
Man, I'm usually an open book, so I think everyone knows everything.
Okay. Okay.
One thing that they don't know. That's a really good question. That's like an existential question I need to ask myself, I think. I am a lover of competition, whether it comes in any forms. So I play games. I used to, anyways. I try not to. It's a dark hole. Sports, companies. I mean, I'm just an extraordinarily competitive person. I think that it's a double-edged sword for sure. Like it helps me get ahead in a lot of ways, but it also losing hurts. Let's put it that way.
Okay. We'll go with that. Super competitive. All right.
Do you play chess or play
Once
chess?
in a while.
Like the reason I read this article is this is going back 20 years ago, and the guy was some movie or something I saw. And the guy was saying this little chess prodigy, he was destroying everybody, and he was just beating everyone. And he says, no, it's not the act of winning; it's the act of winning by telling them you're going to kill their king on this square. So then what he would do is he would say, Dre, you're going to lose on this square is where I'm going to capture your king. So his whole quest was to get Dre on that square so he could kill him and the chess move. And then Dre's whole thing was not to get near that part of the game. So he just changed the whole dynamics of winning by changing. It's like just beating someone isn't the thrill. The thrill is telling them where you're going to kill them. That's the thrill. So, and that took competition to a new level in this our little movie. And the guy was like, that was his quest. But no,
totally.
So on the final four, alive or dead, who would you like to have dinner with? And there's only 4 chairs at the table. You're in one. There's 3 other people at the table. Who would those other representatives be and why?
I know for a fact one of those chairs would have been taken up by Elon Musk like a year ago. All this Twitter crazy, all the stuff that's been happening recently has been a little off-putting. I would still put him at the table. I think he is wonderful. He's done some wonderful things for humanity. SpaceX and Tesla and Neuralink. It's just so many really interesting concepts have come from him, and I think he'll just be in the future seen, maybe eccentric to some degree, but he'll be seen as a visionary and a true leader of the human race. And so I think it would be really interesting to have conversations with him about all sorts of things. Like I would love to have the AI conversation with him. I would love to have. He believes that I think he believes there's a percent chance that we live in essentially in the Matrix, some form of it. There's just a lot of interesting conversation that would come out of that. 3 chairs, right? Three more chairs?
3 chairs. 2 more. 2 more. Elon's 1 and 2 more.
Elon's 1. I'd put my father in a chair. I just love him. He's just one of the best role models. He's just been such a wonderful person in my life. I just love him. Yeah. I don't need to have there's no other reason that I really would want to put him there. But I would want to put him there also because to meet Elon Musk, I think he'd be super fascinated as well. And the third one, interesting. I wonder if I'd choose one of the old philosophers. Be a fascinating conversation with them as well. One of the old philosophers, or maybe even one of the old presidents, maybe Washington or Lincoln. I think historically, I mean, actually Genghis Khan. I've been getting more and more into history recently, and I think there's some really interesting things we overlook. There's a book I read called Principles of a Changing World Order by Ray Dalio. It's like an outlook of the last 500 years of economy, generally based around like the Federal Reserve or the world's reserve currency. And so like the more and more I dive into history, the more and more I find applicability to today, just for myself, for those around me, for economics and stuff like that. So I think it'd be really cool to have an old historically powerful kings or emperor like Genghis Khan or maybe Julius Caesar, something like that. That'd be fascinating.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I wonder if
sure.
we'd even have anything to talk about, though, quite frankly.
You'd have to have just let Elon start the conversation off. It'll go from there. Just gotta build from there. Yeah.
Like, why would you want to be on Mars?
Yeah.
Genghis would ask Elon, why do you want to go to a red planet? Really? There's so much here to conquer.
Oh no, I am super gung ho about going to Mars. I would in a heartbeat sign myself to be one of the first people. When I first sold the company, I had like a weird moment where I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna use these funds to become an astronaut. Then I spoke to a few astronauts, and they're like, you don't want to do that. First of all, there's still no chance. There's like a very small chance. They're also like, don't do that. Just we need your brain for better things.
That's funny. So, Jonathan, what's been your greatest success, personally or professionally? What's been your greatest success?
Yeah, so Alpha One was definitely a huge success. It feels too easy to say that, but I think professionally that was definitely my biggest success. It's hard to say anything else. It was really difficult. Starting the company, we were basically running two companies at the same time when we first started it. We were running all of the websites, the 5 or 6 websites, and we were building that company at the same time. So those times we're paying ourselves like, $1,000 to $2,000 a month. I have no clue how we were living. I mean, I was eating, my entire diet was eggs and rice. Like that's all I ate for like maybe 6 months.
Wow. What was your first meal after you sold the company?
Oh, what a great question. What was it? I think I was
first big meal.
Yeah, I think I was in Israel with my dad, who was one investor in the company as well. And I think he just took me out to just like a fantastic steak dinner there, which honestly, steaks in Israel are horrendous generally. So like, I wouldn't say it's a fantastic meal, but if you've been to Bourbon here in the US or in Nashville, we went to Bourbon Steak as soon as we got back to the US, me and my founder, and that was a wonderful meal.
It's a good spot.
Yeah, and also I took a week off in Mexico. We stayed at a place called it's right next to Puerto Vallarta. I can't remember what it's called, but we took like a week at the W. It was wonderful.
Nice.
And I ate like maybe 9 meals a day, just all the fish and seafood and tacos, just horrible. It was horrible. I drank too much tequila too, but that was wonderful. What was that? What was the other question? I can't remember.
So what's been your greatest success personally or professionally?
Personally, I don't know. I think so. I have a really addictive personality. When it comes to basically, I mean, you name it, I can find a way to addict myself to it. Just anything. And so I think overcoming that in a lot of different ways and trying to turn that addiction into something productive when it comes to work, when it comes to working out, soccer, all sorts of, to channel that energy into something productive, I think has been an accomplishment that I'm constantly fighting and constantly trying to push in the right directions. And it's probably on a daily basis the thing that I'm most proud of myself is moving that into the right direction. And we're all human. There are some days when I had my allergies were crushing me this week, and so I was not productive this last week. I like binged Netflix and read like fantasy sci-fi book. It did like nothing. I just like was kind of a sack, and that's just part of life.
It sure is.
But like, I know that this Monday I'm going to get myself, God willing, Nashville stops punishing my autoimmune system. But I'm going to get back to it. We're going to get right back into it and work hard and be productive. But it's good.
All right. So here's one for you. The third final 4 question is, what's your superpower? Superman flies. The Hulk has his strength. Wonder Woman has her truth lasso. What is uniquely your superpower?
Okay, I have 2. One
Awesome.
is just, it's just like people. I'm good with people, generally speaking. I'm really good at making people feel comfortable, which I think is both a superpower and a weakness to some degree. Because I think it's easy to show weakness if you're always trying to be nice and always trying to get people to like you, and that's another thing I'm trying to work on personally. But at the same time, in a company aspect, if you're trying to collaborate on a lot of different things, trying to work with people who are maybe investing in you, or maybe you're investing in them, I think it's a really powerful thing to have. It's better to have more people like you than more people hate you. So we'll work in that regard. The second one, blanking on. Can't be that big of a superpower if I'm blanking on it. Yeah, I think we'll stick with that. If I remember, I'll jump back in.
Yeah, jump in. Okay. Yeah, if it comes back to you, just let us know. So the last question is.
Got it. I got it.
There you go. There you
go. I love solving complex puzzles. I cannot. It's like, you know, when you have a word at the tip of your tongue and you have to find it. You have to. And so, like, I find that about almost everything. I have to find a solution to it. And so when it comes to companies, like, I can't, and if I have any kind of inclination that the solution we've chosen might not be the best, even by like a small margin, I will delve on that thought for as long as I possibly can. And so and I think it's a really important entrepreneurial trait as well, to always be trying to find maybe not the perfect solutions, because perfect is the enemy of productivity, but the best solutions given general resources, time, money, and restrictions that you have. It's not even that I have to do it. I really enjoy that process of finding problems and helping people to solve them. It's one of the reasons why I'm like, I have a lot of friends who are in the same in the business world, in the tech world, not even friends, even just colleagues, or even I just enjoy that process. If anybody wants to talk business with me about like their companies or their issues, their problems, I'm always an open book with them, and I love helping them solve those kinds of things.
Nice. So if you were to write a autobiography, what would the title be?
God, what a great question too. You guys have wonderful questions, I must say. What would the autobiography be? Game Time.
Game Time. I like that.
Like it. I like Game that time. Too.
It's always Game Time for me.
So let me tell you, Jonathan. You know, the way we connected was pretty amazing. I was telling Smiley about it. Now that we've had you on the podcast, you have a pretty fascinating story. One of the things that Smiley and I both enjoy is meeting new people and learning about them. Having this podcast is just kind of like an extension of that. I really appreciate you taking that time out of your Saturday, even though you weren't feeling well, to join us on the Dre and Smiley podcast.
I'm feeling so much better now. Isn't that wonderful? It's because of you guys.
Just like Dre said, I would echo it. It's been fascinating having you on our podcast and sharing your ideas. I took a few notes, the mid-journey and just your tenacity and your honesty with, because a lot of people you see people who start companies or entrepreneurs, you just think it just was easy for them, and it's always a grind. And I appreciate you sharing that. Sometimes you have failures, but you get back up and you just persevere, and things work out. So that's an awesome story, and thanks for sharing, and thanks for your time on a Saturday. We appreciate you.
I really, really enjoyed it, guys. Thank you so much for having me.
All right.